Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jean Tankery, and I am room monitor for this presentation. Our speaker today is a volunteer.
Is this where secretary training is taking place?
Yes? The best way to thank them would be to provide honest and useful feedback with the session at the conclusion of our session today.
Do you want to change?
Our tech master will drop into the chat toward the end of the session for the Zoom attendees. All in-person attendees, please fill out a paper survey. If you miss it, don't worry. We will follow up with an alternative email at the conclusion of LACE. Please remember that to receive credit for official training, you must be present for the entire session. You have to complete the Zoom call with the pop-up at the end of the meeting. Or if you're in person, sign the registration form that is going around and complete the evaluation form at the end. If you are not speaking, please remember to keep yourself on mute and your phone on mute. To avoid background noise. If you are joining us in person, please do not connect to the Zoom meeting. We have, which will create feedback. We have a fun and interactive session planned today as secretary training. Thank you. And now let me introduce our speaker. Lori Jacobs has been a Toastmaster since 1992, achieving her Distinguished Toastmaster Award in 2003, and has served in every club officer role throughout the years. While Lori originally joined Toastmasters to overcome her fear of public speaking needed for her career, she continued to use the skills she had learned to contribute to other volunteer organizations, and especially prizes all the wonderful friends she has met through Toastmasters. Lori's proudest achievement, besides her DTM, is her 15 minutes of fame in the spotlight when she appeared on stage as a stand-up comedian. I present Lori Jacobs.
Woo!
Well, thank you, Jean, for that very generous introduction. And the only problem with that is now people may be expecting a stand-up comedy show.
Yes, please.
Oh, yes, they do. So I'm not really sure that I can make the job of club secretary just to be very funny, but I hope that you will learn that the job of club secretary is the most fun officer job in Toastmasters, right? So just so that I know my audience, let me ask you, well, first I'll say, thank you, welcome. Thanks for coming, the people who are here in person, and also all of you out in Zoom land. Thanks for coming. And just so I can have an idea of my audience here, let me ask you, how many of you have been, just by show of hands, how many of you have been secretary before? And how many online have been secretary? Oh, I see some hands raised. And how many, oh, here's an obvious question, but how many are doing this for the first time? Oh, good, some of you. Well, that's really good. We have a variety. So at the end of this presentation or near the end, we should have time for your questions if you have them, and also for your suggestions from those of you who have also have done this before, and you may have some best practices that you would like to share. If you do have questions for those of you on Zoom, please put your questions into the chat. And for those of you here, of course, I'll answer them when you raise your hand. We'd like to keep the questions near the end, but if there's something just pressing, or if you don't understand something I say, or if you think I just really said something that's ridiculous, I'll be happy if you interrupt me and let me know so I can address it right at the time. Okay, I did provide some handouts for people who are here in the room, and I understand that. The tech master will put that handout into the chat for those of you on Zoom. So do we have our slide
Bob Hudak.
up? Not quite yet.
Bob Hudak, I don't have host rights. It says screen share, host disabled participant screen sharing. Bob Hudak, can you see who's host of this meeting? So I can. Change your chat points back, so.
Okay.
I'll answer.
Okay, well, while the tech masters are working on getting our slides up, well, you can just all see who's on there. But I will, will begin the presentation. I'll ask the people here in the audience, can you see this? You can see you can't see the slides either. Okay, well, we're working on that.
Can you give me?
You should be able to share the slides now.
Okay, well, while they're working on that, I will tell you, I have been
Okay.
I'm concluding my second year as club secretary for Possibilities Unlimited Toastmasters. I've been secretary before in other clubs. Oh, so here we are. So now we can see the slides. That's how wonderful that is, right? Okay, so I think I've given you all the preparatory information. So I think that those of you who have not done it before, you will find that club secretary is actually a lot of fun. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a source that we could go to that would tell you everything that you need to know about being secretary? Would that be good?
That was great.
That would be good. Okay, okay. And actually, I'm happy to say that there is something. There's the Club Leadership Handbook. It will tell you everything you need to know, plus more. And you can see it here, the officer role descriptions, everything about club operations and management, also about your district and everything else. So the first thing you should probably do when you get home is to go to the Toastmasters International website, go to Club Central, or go to Leadership Central, and then go to Club Officer Tools. And you can download a copy of the Club Leadership Handbook. So to your computer, you can print out a copy as well. This is really your go-to guide. So download it and read it. It will be your first source. I'm sorry. Oh, a question. Oh, I'm sorry. What's the name?
Ellen?
Ellen? Oh, Ellen Roy. Do you have your hand up? Do you have a question to begin? Can't hear you. Oh, okay. Just a hand. I guess when maybe you put your hand up to say you've done this before, you can put it down now. So anyway, this would be your first source. And go to the officer role descriptions, and it will give you a very good description of your role as secretary. Also, there are, in the club officer tools, there are tutorials, which are videos. So you can watch the video also, and it will tell you about your role. there are a lot of resources that we have that I will be mentioning. And you will see in this presentation, some of the first things that I talk about have to do with you as a club secretary, but also you're a member of the leadership team in your club. And some of these responsibilities will be not only yours, but for all of club officers. But we'll get down to the more specific secretarial role later on in the presentation. So some of the places that you will go for your resources is, and here we have a slide that shows the page on the Toastmasters International website, which is Leadership Central. And you see there's the tab there, and under that tab, you will have the Club Central and also the club officer tools. And when you go to the club officer tools, that's where you find the leadership handbook. You'll find a lot of other resources that you need to help you in your role. At the Club Central, you can get information there, but also there are tabs there where you can do what you need to do to manage club business. For example, when you need to approve educational awards for your members and manage your club roster and other duties as well. So that would be the Club Central, and also the club officer tools. You'll find everything that you need there. Club officer tools, everything that you need there to perform your duties as the club president or club secretary. So here we see a slide. This is of Club Central, and some of the important parts there that you will need to know about are to submit the educational awards. We'll look at that a little later, and you may or may not be doing that, but somebody in your club will. In my club, I've been doing that. A lot of times it will be the educational vice president. Also, you can get a club roster there, and part of your duties as secretary is to update the club roster and prepare it to distribute to your members so that they're able to contact each other. In addition, sometimes your club members will need to change their contact information, their addresses, so forth. And you, as the club secretary, you will have the ability to make changes and corrections in your club roster. One very important duty as the secretary is that you have to submit the new club officers in time to Toastmasters International. And when will that time be? June 30th. Good, June 30th. But I will be doing it for my club this time, but for the next term, all of you will be doing it as well. And it's a very easy process, and you'll see there that oh, I'm sorry, I didn't show you that. There is a tab that you can click there, and it gives you the opportunity to put in the names of your club officers. Now, these are some of the things that you will be doing for your club. And one of the duties that I mentioned that really applies not just to the secretary, not even primarily to you, but to all of the club officers and really the members, they take a part in this as well. And that is membership. We are membership building all the time. So you as the secretary, as well as all the other officers, you need to be familiar with the membership application. And I know that it's difficult to see here on the slide in the room, but I hope that you can see this on those of you who are online, but you can also download a copy, and you should do that and look over it carefully, even fill it out so you know how to fill it in. So you need to be familiar with the membership application. You also need to be familiar with the dues calculation. And usually the treasurer will take care of this and the membership vice president, but you should be familiar as well. For the international dues, you need to know what your club dues are, the new members, the pathways fee, that's for new members only, and where the signatures go. Then after that, you will see that this on the slide, it shows a breakdown of how you figure the club, the dues for new members. And just to share a story with you, when I first started Toastmasters many years ago, honestly, there was nobody there who could really tell me how much the dues were. And I persisted, but sometimes, people want to know how much it's going to be, and all the officers should be familiar with how much it's going to cost them. So discuss that with your membership vice president and your club treasurer, so that you, when somebody asks you, you will know what to tell them about that. And next we have Pathways. Pathways is the educational value in Toastmasters. This is our educational program, and you need to be familiar with that as well. And when I showed you that page from the homepage of the Toastmasters International website, click on Pathways and you'll find a number of options there. First of all, officers, usually the membership and the education vice president will ensure that all the new members are enrolled, but you may be able to assist with that as well, and also to have the new members enrolled within the first 2 weeks after they join. Another very important part, and this is essential for all members, especially the new members, is the navigator, which you see here. And the navigator is the manual that has all the information that you need to start as a new member. And as I said, I've been a member for such a long time, I thought I knew everything. But I thought maybe I should look at the navigator, which is new to me as a Toastmaster. And it really also has everything you need to know as a member and also as an officer. It tells about some of the meeting basics, the pathways, and the icebreaker, the first speech, evaluation, and a lot of other things that you need to know as a member and as an officer in your club. Now, one thing, if you're starting as a secretary for the first time or as an officer for the first time, you will find that you are included in the club as a base camp manager for Pathways. And how many of you have been a base camp manager before? Well, a lot of you have, and some of you online as well. So who are the base camp managers? They're the club president, the vice president for education, and you as the club secretary. And what are the primary responsibilities of the base camp? The Pathways base camp manager are to verify level completions for your members, track progress of the members, and to provide feedback and award badges. Now, as secretary, will you be doing this? Well, that really depends on your club. In my club, I've been asked by the education vice president often to go through and approve the award, the educational awards for the members. And you may or you may not be charged with doing that, but you need to know how to do it. So I'm hoping that most of you by this time have actually enrolled in Pathways, and you know that when you click on the Pathways tab, where do you want to go? Well, you want to go to base camp, and you might notice something different if you have not been a base camp manager before. You see that not only that in the center little square there, you see that not only can you enter into your own pathway in base camp, but you can log in as the base camp manager. And as the secretary, you'll have that ability. You don't have to get a new password or anything. But when you're going to go in there to do club business for your members, you won't just click onto your base camp, your pathway. You will log in as base camp manager. And then when you do that, and I'm not going to try to make this sound more complex than it is, because it's really not. You will see that there are 3 options you have when you log in as Basecamp manager. You see the first one there is pending requests. And that means that this will show you members of your club who have completed a level. They've done all the speeches and everything that's required for a level. And when they do that, they have to apply for approval, and that's what they're asking you for. And this slide shows you what that looks like. When you click on that first little block that says the pending requests, you see this, and there'll be a person's name there. I hope that you can see that on the slide. There'll be a person's name there. And then it tells you what they're applying for, like level 1 or what, and the path. And then you have an option. You have a lot of power here. You have an option to click the green check or the red X. Usually you will click the green check mark to approve their level. And you will know this, of course, because you have communication with the Vice President of Education. So you will know if they have met the requirements, in which case you can just click the green check and it will show that before I move on from that, and you will see that that provides the check in their pathways, their educational program. But you may think, oh, that's done, that's all you have to do. But oh no, there is another step. Once you approve that, you also need to go into the Club Central again. And there's a place there, as you saw before on that other slide, there's a place there to approve educational awards. And there you click in and you can find the club member's name and you can approve it right there. And that's something that sometimes clubs forget, that they have to go through those 2 steps. We can touch on that a little bit later as well. It's not complicated. It's just 2 steps because those two programs don't actually interface with each other, Pathways and the Club Central for approvals. It might sound complicated, but it's really not. We can go through that again. But this is regarding, now we're going to move on more to your responsibilities as a club secretary. And there are 3 categories. There's club management, records and archives, and then the basics of being secretary. So the first one, club management. What will you be doing? They're the minutes of the meetings. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We have the membership rosters, which I also mentioned, the officer list on the Toastmasters International Club Central, and you can see where to find that, and that will be up to you as secretary, not this time because the outgoing secretary will most likely do it, but you can touch base with that person, but you'll be doing it for next time when your club changes officers. You will also order supplies as needed. You can work with the other officers and the treasurer to do that. And also, as I mentioned before, you will serve as the backup Basecamp manager. And you may or may not have a lot of responsibilities in that area, but you need to know how to do it. Okay, the second category is to manage the club records. And the club records, your club has some basic documents, for example, your club constitution and bylaws and all that. You really have charge of keeping those documents. And I don't know about your clubs, but my clubs within the last 2 years, we've not met in person. So the location of those documents, it may be with the last secretary who was in charge at that time, but it's a good idea to know where they are so that you can locate them, because that's your responsibility to maintain them. Also maintain your archive history, any correspondence, also the minutes and official documents, and to work with the treasurer on the financial records. I mean, you're not responsible unless you have both jobs, secretary and treasurer. You're not responsible for the the financial records, but it's a good idea to be in touch with your treasurer so that you know about that. Okay, and then some of the basics, read the leader letter. The leader letter is, I receive it, I think it's once a month, right? Once a month, right? I get it on my email, so it's right there. It tells the latest, everything you need to know from Toastmasters about what's going on. Also, you can find it online on the Toastmasters international site. You need to understand parliamentary procedure. What does this mean? Mostly, but don't worry, you do not have to memorize the Robert's Rules of Order. Basic things you need to know is that if your club decides to make some kind of change in its policy or procedures, that these are done usually at a board, it could be at a membership meeting or at a board meeting, the officer meetings, where somebody makes a motion, then the motion is seconded, there's discussion, and the people present vote on it. And that would be, I mean, how often does that happen? It happens sometimes, but it's important for the secretary, no matter what else you're recording in your minutes, that you record any official motions that are made and what the outcome was. That's basically what you need to know about parliamentary procedure. Now, vote the club proxy at the International Convention. Oh, well, it's been a while since I've been to an in-person international convention, but usually there's voting there at the business meeting. Usually the president and education vice president vote, but you could be, as a club officer, you could be asked to carry a proxy, and you should know how to do that. You will need to back up other officers, perhaps when they're absent. And you'll see in the leadership handbook what the order of succession goes. The president, the VP education, membership, public relations, let's just see if I get these right, secretary, treasurer, and sergeant at arms. So the chances that you might have to take over for the president, they might be slim, but you might have to do it. So you really want to be in a position so you can back up your fellow officers. And as secretary or any officer, you have to attend officer training, which we're all doing right now. So I think we have that one covered. So I said that I would zero, those are things all officers should know. But what are the most important things you do as club secretary? Well, the first ones, we all know that the secretary takes the minutes for the committee meetings. Usually that's like the executive committee, the officers, and for the club meetings. So if you're new to the office of secretary, how do you take the minutes? I mean, are you going to have to think this up, dream it up, and do you have to take down every word that was said? Well, unless you are the secretary for a brand new club, I'm sure your club has an established template or way that you take the minutes for the meetings. And I know we have one, and it's not burdensome at all. In my club, there are just two simple things that I do when I take minutes. There is a roster that shows the members, and I check whether or not they're in attendance or not, and a place to enter the guests' names if we have guests. And then there is a format that I don't know how long, but I guess we've been doing minutes like that for many years. And I just have to change it each time to reflect what happened at the meeting. So it's really not so hard. You don't have to dream it up. Work with your outgoing secretary so that you can learn what kind of template you use. And to be honest, I've been to a number of clubs. I'm a member actually of two, and we do things very differently, club to club. In my my Possibilities Unlimited Toastmasters Club, I do the minutes and I send them out by email to all the members within 2 days after every meeting, which seems to be pretty much what it calls for. However, there are some clubs that do not do that. So really you need to find out what you do in your own club. But the important thing is whether or not your club sends out minutes directly after every meeting. If you do any voting, either at the executive meetings, the officer meetings, or at the membership meetings, if there are any motions that you vote on, things to be adopted, you need to record that. That's important to be in the record. Also, when you vote for club officers, that also needs to be in the record. That's official business. And I know, for example, that, as a Toastmasters club, we usually have a bank account for the club. And some banks, in order to open an account or to change the signature authority on your bank account, they will ask for the minutes that show the officers' names. So some things, if you don't catch every detail of a meeting, it's not so important. But some things like that, that is important. Okay, also you organize and maintain club records and files. As I mentioned before, you're responsible for the official documents of your club, like the Constitution, the bylaws, and that. And honestly, for years, the clubs I belong to have been in existence for more than 30 years. And so you can imagine there must be thousands of documents in containers somewhere. And we used to keep you're required to keep the minutes of the meetings too. And we used to, of course, have printed documents to put in binders. And there are just tons of binders out there. But honestly, in this day and age, we preserve things mostly electronically. Some clubs might use flash drives to save them on, or in my club, we upload the minutes of the meetings. We upload them to our club website so that they are available to members only who have passwords. So you need to find out from your club how you store those minutes. And you'll find in the leadership handbook, you will find that Toastmasters International tells you how long you're required to keep some of these documents. And I will just give you a hint. Some of them you have to keep forever. You have to keep them forever. Pardon?
For tax purposes?
Well, for some of the financial records, I guess, have to be kept for tax purposes, but the minutes and that, you're supposed to keep them forever. Now, if I had to go back to research what my club did in 1989 for a particular meeting, that might be a challenge for me. But technically, you are supposed to keep them. So I think that now in modern times, since we can save them electronically, I think that we have a much better way now. But you can review all that in the leadership handbook. Also, you need to review and update the membership rosters. I mentioned that, and you can find that on Club Central. It says right there, club roster. You click on that, it's all there. But you need to check it periodically to find out if there are any changes or if there are any errors there. And when you have new members, of course, you have to make sure that they've been entered on there. Plus, in our club, we distribute a club roster to the membership by email so that they have reason to contact each other. Okay, you also have to update the club and officer list. I told you about that already. Understand basic parliamentary procedures. We covered that, I think. And you assist the VPE, the Vice President for Education, with the base camp manager role. I think that you will probably not find that so burdensome because you were really the backup, but it's very valuable to know how to do that anyway, and order supplies as needed. We haven't ordered any supplies recently since we haven't been meeting in person, but we are starting to, and then you will have, like your ribbons that you give for best speaker and all that. You have to make sure that you have all the supplies you need. And you'll work with the other officers and with the treasurer to order those things online. Okay, so, as secretary for your club, you're part of the leadership team and you're really it's an invaluable position. You're really essential to the team. But it's not only the club and the other officers that benefit from what we do as secretaries. We personally benefit as well. And so here we have some of the transferable skills. And those of you who are still in the working world and you might want to update your resume, there are some valuable things that you gain from being a club officer and a club secretary. For one, here we show the strategic skills, business process, and professional development. So under the strategic skills, some of the things that you might list on your resume that you will learn: organization, meeting organization, critical thinking, problem solving, and time management. These are important for us as Toastmasters, but also in the business world and in the working world. Business process, you will get experience in records management, executive communication, small group planning, and strategic execution. And you can find all these things online so that you can, remember to include them. And then under professional development, there are communication skills, adherence to standards, procedural compliance, listening skills, and succession planning. Succession planning, you know what that means? That means when you're ready to, at the conclusion of your term, you have to work to find somebody good who'll take it over for you. And then, of course, you help them along the way. Okay, I can't believe it, but I think I hit on all of the main points. So we want to have a little time at the end because there are some resources I want to share with you, but I think we could turn to any burning questions. Nobody interrupted me. I don't know if that means that you understood everything I said or I was going too fast. So I'm ready for questions. I'll ask first, anybody in the room in person have a question?
26 people online.
26 people? They all have questions?
I don't know, they can unmute themselves.
Okay. Okay, yes,
I don't have a question,
yes,
but I do have a comment.
yes.
Mainly, Martha's in a brand new club that just chartered a few months ago. And,
Here we have a question from in the room and I want you to hear her.
hello, it's Christine Brady. I can't help myself. I have to comment.
Good.
We have a new club. They may not know that in addition to all the information that's available on the Toastmasters website, there's also templates. Under the stationary templates, there are templates for the club executive meetings. So you don't have to build your own template when you have your club officer meeting. You can just go and find that template. It's all ready for you to fill in all the information.
Well, that is very valuable to
I found
know.
it because I've never been club secretary before. So I was poking around. I found that template. Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Did everybody hear you heard what she said? Well, thank you for that. I knew that there were templates somewhere. I'd never really searched for them because ours are so well established. I mean, for our officer meeting.
new club.
But for a brand new club, you will want that. So that's under the stationary.
Yes.
Okay. So there you go, that you can find the template that works best for you and use that. Okay, so, another question, Vanessa. Oh, come here. So you can be in the spotlight.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Perez. I'm a part of the Possibilities Unlimited Club. And I have a question, Lori. It states here, take minutes at committee and club meetings. How often is the committee meetings? Is that quarterly, annually?
Well, for our club, I will say that we usually have an officer meeting once a month.
Okay.
But it's really up to the club how often they have them. There could be other committees too within the club, like for planning things and all that. In our club, we usually have one once a month, which is called by the president.
Okay.
And he comes up with a date to see it's to see if most of the officers can be there. So that's what we do once a month. And we've been conducting them online, on Zoom now for 2 years. But, it depends on the club, of course, for everyone else. And they could be less often or more often if needed. But I'd say I'll probably average once a month.
Once a month. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's what we do. Thank you, Vanessa. Vanessa is my successor, and I know she's going to do a wonderful job. Yes,
I just had a comment.
here.
I just had a comment, because our club is all virtual, and we plan on keeping it that way. We use Google Drive, so all our stuff's in Google Docs and all our stuff's in Google Drive, and we've actually pulled all the stuff from, I didn't know about the template, so that was useful, but all the stuff from the website into the Google Drive so that our club members can just access the Google Drive anytime, any day they want to and stuff.
Perfect.
So that's what our way
Oh.
of storing stuff.
Oh, that's a great idea, Google Drive. I don't think, we don't do that, or we haven't done that, although it sounds like a good idea. And maybe when some of the newer officers come in, they might want to set that up. Actually, I'll just mention for our executive, we call them executive board meetings, the officer meetings, we have a template that the president sends out with the topics that, the topics that he wants to discuss. And I just take the notes on the agenda and then I type them up and send them out to the officers sometime after that meeting, before the next one, whichever way works for you, of course. I like the idea of Google Drive, something that can be shared. I know there are some clubs that use some other platforms for that too. I like the idea. We don't do that ourselves, but I think it's a good one. Any more from within the room? And I'm going to go to the Zoom audience and ask you, are there questions in the chat that, or should I just
A
ask?
person commented that they've been doing Toastmasters for 6 years, never took minutes.
Oh, very good. Well, I was, okay, for the benefit, I don't know if you could hear that, but for the benefit of everyone out there, I will mention that someone here has made a comment that, or somebody out in the Zoom audience made a comment that they've been a member of Toastmasters for 6 years. Have they been secretary? They didn't say. Oh, but they've never taken any minutes and never seen any minutes. Okay, well, I was not going to admit this, but I belong to another club of which I am not a secretary. And honestly, I have not seen minutes in 10 years. But so, as I said, clubs are all different. They do things differently. I would say the important thing is that when there is club business being done, it is important. It's important to make a record. And if you look in the leadership manual under the secretary position, it specifies what kinds of things should be included in the minutes. And of course, any business should be included. It also mentions that you should have an attendance roster in there to show who was in attendance. And I'm not sure, I think it says what speeches were given in that. Honestly, in Possibilities Unlimited, if I wanted to go back and somebody challenged it or somebody wasn't sure what levels, what speeches they'd completed to complete a level, I could look it up and I could find out, at least within the last 2 years, I could tell you. So I do not advocate not taking any minutes. Because really you're supposed to, and you'll see in the handbook what things should be included, especially official business. Yes, question or comment?
Yeah, comment. Where do I stand?
You can stand right there, right? Come a little this way. Yeah, there you are. You're there. Okay.
I'm Marty Shepherd, and I've been secretary to 4 different clubs. And although they do it a variety of ways as far as what format they use, they all have a template. And nowadays it's so easy because you just fill it in, who was there, the attendance, the guests, Toastmasters, some of them have every role. You say what every role is. And then what I like to do is I don't ever have a hard copy. I just mail it in. Email it, and I email it to the president because sometimes I might have put something that wasn't quite right. So I like a second pair of eyes. She looks it over, then she emails it back. Then I email it out to the members. And one of my clubs does have it where we upload it to their website. So, but it's all done electronically. It's very easy that way.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And as I said, I send out the meeting minutes to all the membership. And I mean, you might have them sent out to the president first or somebody else first. I send out to the whole membership and I ask them to make any corrections if I've made an error, if I forgot something. And I will tell you that sometimes people do respond saying that I got something wrong or I forgot to include something, but I'm getting better. After 2 years, I get it right almost every time, almost. Okay, are there any other pressing questions from out there? Because I think I'm supposed to be concluding in about 2 minutes. And
There's a question about which things should be kept forever, such as the club charter.
oh, there's a question about what things should be kept forever. And you know, I just looked that up because it is included in I think it's in the leadership manual. It tells you how long you need to keep everything. And there are some things that need to be kept forever. And of course, the club charter, all those official documents need to be kept forever. And I was surprised to find it does say that you need to keep your minutes forever as well, which was surprising. There are some things that you can destroy after, I think, 7 years or something like that. And I'm sorry, I do not have that in front of me at this moment, but it is included in the secretary part of the leadership manual. But as far as I know, we have never thrown anything away in 30 years. So, but there it is specified, right? Okay. And before we conclude, you know, there could be time for more questions later, but before, I don't think my clicker's working anymore, but no, there was a couple more slides, but I will just mention these things. It's not necessary maybe to see the slides, but a couple of the things before we go is that you don't want to miss out on important information. Founders District is on social media. You should follow Founders Toastmasters on Facebook, Founders District Toastmasters on LinkedIn, and Instagram Founders District Toastmasters. Also, Toastmasters International has pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Some interesting videos you can watch. Also go to the Leadership Central. You'll find other resources listed there for your club and for your district resources. So that concludes the Toastmasters Club Secretary training. And I think that there is an evaluation or a survey that you can complete after this. Thank you to our tech master here, our tech master out there and online. And thank you to our club, our room monitor, to Jean Tancari. So thank you all for being here. Enjoy your time as secretary. It's fun. You'll be a part of the excitement of your club, and it will get to be easy after a while. So thank you for that. Oh, Jean?
There's one more thing that I need to do, and that is to give our certificate of appreciation to Lori Jacobs for her wonderful presentation on secretary training.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And make sure you fill out your evaluation form. That's one of the ways that they can tell that everybody has been here the whole time. And if you are on Zoom, you need to respond to the poll that our tech master has put up.
Thank you, Jean. Thanks so much. And thanks to everybody.